Hello, everyone, and we are gathering here today with some of the Film Yap crew to talk about the Oscar nominations. Some would call it the second biggest day of the movie year after the awards themselves, but I'm very excited. Obviously, tumultuous year, but we still got a lot of terrific films that I think are worthy of recognition. So just throwing it out there, who wants to start? Any particular big surprises or snubs or anything you're very happy about or angry about?
Well, I'll kick it off. I'm upset about the lack of love shown One Night in Miami. It was one of my favorite films of the year. I mean, it could have been and should have been nominated for Best Picture. Regina King should have been nominated for Best Director. I mean, Leslie Odom Jr. as Sam Cooke was, fine for supporting role, and I forgot the actor's name. The guy who played Malcolm
Kingsley
X
Ben-Adir
had much more impact. Yes, had much more impact on me in the movie than Leslie Odom Jr.'s Sam Cooke.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one.
All of us probably agree with Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, I thought that was disappointing. My biggest disappointment was Ma Rainey not getting a Best Picture or Best Screenplay nomination.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mank actually, is being touted as the lead headline is that it won the Oscar nominations because it got the most, but most of them in the quote unquote technical categories. So it did not get a screenplay nomination as well. And I'm trying to remember, did it get a directing nomination? I'm not sure if it did.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So my two favorite films of the year did not do well. Adam, how about you?
So, kind of echoing the same thoughts, the Oscars have always been criticized for not having enough African American voices represented. And they're actually got a lot of Asian and Asian American voices represented in this year's Oscars. But when it comes to Black voices, it seems like, well, we can have one for Best Picture. So I guess Judas and the Black Messiah will be the one choice. Yeah. Although Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and One Night in Miami were certainly deserving, making it, and some can make an argument for Da 5 Bloods, which I wasn't as high on as a movie, although I will say Delroy Lindo and Chadwick Boseman may have deserved acting nominations for that film. It's ridiculous that these other two films, Ma Rainey and One Night in Miami, were snubbed when the Oscars can go up to 10 if they wanted to. They only had 8 Best Picture nominations this year, so they could have squeezed in 2 more, which even if they don't win Best Picture, I think it's nice to say they were nominated, especially when it was a little surprising to see Minari, which I wasn't as high on as some people, and the Golden Globes really didn't like it. That get a lot of nominations, and I also was a little surprised just about the love for Borat's subsequent movie film, both in screenplay and supporting actress. I was not a big fan of this film. I think I gave it 1 or 2 stars when I reviewed it. I love the first Borat. This one, to me, it was on the level of Zoolander 2 or Anchorman 2 in the level of comedy sequel quality. And what makes it even more infuriating is that Maria Bakalova or whatever, she got nominated for Best Supporting Actress. She's good, but Jodie Foster, who actually won the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress and is fantastic in The Mauritanian, gets snubbed. And here we have a amusing comedic performance get in there instead.
Yeah. By the way, I heard them when they were making the announcements this morning. They pronounced the name of that film as Minari, which means I've been saying, if that's correct, I've been saying it wrong for like the last 4 or 5 months. But Alec, how about you? Anything in particular that you're really happy about or really upset about?
I was pleasantly surprised to see Paul Raci nominated for Best Supporting Actor. As good as Rosamond is in that movie, I thought he was great. I actually thought Paul Raci was arguably better, and he hadn't been getting a lot of love at the big award shows leading up to this. So I was happy to see him included.
Andy, how about you?
I was happy and kind of impressed by the Academy a little bit to see some love for Promising Young Woman in a few major categories. That was a super divisive movie, and I feel like a lot of times divisive movies don't end up getting a lot of love for obvious reasons. And I, for one, as somebody who really loved that movie, thought it was really cool to see it up for, I think, Best Picture, original screenplay, and director, maybe, or
Yeah.
editing or something.
Best actress.
The actress, yeah, Carey Mulligan, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised and pleased with that. Now, I have my problems with the film, as we have discussed in a previous podcast, but it's true that the Academy has a well-deserved reputation for sort of staying away from edgy films, challenging films, and certainly this film falls into that category. And whatever else you want to say about it, with my complaints about it, I think it's a very challenging, bold movie. I'd rather be challenged and be a little disappointed than sort of just, always get the warm and fuzzies all the time. So I'm very happy about the showing for Promising Young Woman. Of course, I think the biggest surprise, Paul Raci was a big surprise, someone getting nominated that he really was not in the mix. I think one or two of the other minor awards that came out had him mentioned. So that was a big surprise. The really big surprise, I think, that I'm super happy about is Lakeith Stanfield getting a Best Supporting Actor nomination for Judas and the Black Messiah. That's strange because he was not in the mix at all. He was not discussed. I don't think he showed up in the nominations for anything. Golden Globes, SAG Awards. He just has not. It's all been on Daniel Kaluuya has gotten because he has the big showy part in that movie. Whereas Lakeith Stanfield has, the more understated, the foil kind of role. I do think it's a little weird that he was also nominated as supporting. He's the lead actor in the film. I mean, the movie is his story. Arguably, you could even say that both of those guys are lead roles. So it's sort of strange to put them both in supporting. But I'm glad they both got in there. Particularly Keith Stanfield, just an actor I've adored and shouted out his name, because he's not a household name. He actually appeared on the Oscar telecast a few years ago when Get Out, reprising his role as the creepy neighbor, just as sort of a goof. And I remember saying, I think I tweeted at the time, Lakeith Stanfield is going to be on that stage again someday, but not as a presenter or part of the show.
Yeah, I was happy he was nominated. I liked the movie, but yeah, I was sort of head scratcher. Why support? To me, he was the lead actor. I mean, his role wasn't as showy as Daniel Kaluuya's, but still, it was solid. He was the lead act. He was the lead. The story hinges on him.
Yeah.
And I just, that's one of those quirky things the Oscars do.
Yeah. What do you guys think about, people are saying Regina King was snubbed for Best Director for One Night in Miami. I probably would have given it to the director of Ma Rainey instead. But I thought it was a terrific debut for an actress stepping behind the camera. So the director of Another Round, Thomas Winterberg, that was an out of left field. I didn't see that coming at all. Any of you guys in particular were big fans of Another Round or happy about that? Or
I liked Another Round, but one interesting thing, and I did this once, I went through Wikipedia because I'm a nerd that does stuff like this, and I looked at people who were nominated for Best Director, but the movie itself wasn't nominated for Best Picture. And if you have that list, it's actually a list of some of the more interesting movies in film history. Some of them have become cult classics. So go back and look through some of those things if you have time. You'd find some really good gems in there where they were nominated for Best Director, but not Best Picture. Perfect example is the film City of God. Great. A lot of foreign films in that category too. They get nominated for Best Foreign Film, but don't seem to make it into the Best Picture category. Regina King is certainly deserving. I think part of it is people just really like Regina King as a person. She's somebody who we all see that she's kind of had to fight to get the roles that she wanted to get. She was stereotyped as like the black best friend in a lot of movies for years. Didn't get a lot of leading roles. Eventually won multiple Emmys and an Oscar by really kind of taking some risks in some of the roles that she took. And then now with her debut, making it such a great film. I think it's easy to root for her, but she will have her time. I hope she doesn't fall into the Greta Gerwig category where she keeps getting overlooked. Greta Gerwig, her directorial debut was great. With Lady Bird, was not nominated. It's interesting to note Emerald Fennell is the first female director to be nominated for her debut film. It's never happened, which is kind of surprising. So I guess you really can't get too upset that Regina King wasn't nominated.
Yeah. Andy or Alec, anything else jumping out at you? Surprises, snubs, something favorite of yours that didn't make the cut?
Yeah, there was one. It actually wasn't really a favorite of mine, though I did enjoy it. What was it? I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Didn't get really anything, which I thought was interesting because it just felt like back in the fall it was getting a ton of praise, a ton of talk and press. And I guess, it's not exactly an Academy type film. But you've got Promising Young Woman up there in the mix, and that's an odd, challenging film too. So I was just a little surprised there was nothing thrown its way.
Speaking of movies that were ignored that I would have liked to have seen receive some love, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. I think Picture, it would be worthy. I think the director, I have her name written down, Eliza Hittman. She also wrote the movie. I think she's probably worthy in either of those categories. And the two young actresses who were in the movie, Sydney Flanagan and Talia Ryder, I think would have been worthy of recognition in either Best Actress or Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah, I think that film had a lot of showed up at the Spirit Awards, the Independent Film Awards, and I think unfortunately it's just one of those films was just too small. I mean, like Promising Young Woman, I think makes the cut because it had a named actress in it, and Emerald Fennell has also been a busy actress, but not necessarily a name for herself. So unfortunately, because of a film like that is so small and so on the edge of indie film, it's just where it gets categorized. So unless that's an independent film, it'll compete for the Spirit Awards, and that's that. Andra Day and Vanessa Kirby both made the cut for Best Actress. I think they were both kind of on the bubble-ish. Obviously Andra Day won the Golden Globe. Vanessa Kirby, her film hasn't been quite as, I think, again, it's been more on that edge of being dismissed as an indie film. So that was interesting to see them in there. I was glad to see Gary Oldman. Everyone seems to be in the Mank hate mode, but he was terrific in that, and he's obviously got the pedigree, the Oscar pedigree that's in there. I was also very happy about Amanda Seyfried in Mank, just because I thought that was her best performance that she's given in her career, and I was really happy to see her be recognized for that. One other surprise that I saw was The White Tiger getting a screenplay nomination in the adapted category. That was, again, not one that I was expecting to see. Foreign film with some English language. But what do you guys, anybody here besides me seen The White Tiger, and what do you think about that nomination?
Haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it either.
It's good. It's got a very much, people are going to obviously compare it to Slumdog Millionaire because it's about, a kid in India who rises from nothing and so forth. And there are some thematic similarities there, but I think it's a solidly good film. It's strange for it to get a screenplay nomination because if anything, I thought its weakness it's a long film, and I thought the screenplay could have been shorter and it could have been a little more economized. Andy, I see you nodding your head. Did you see that one?
I didn't see it, but I just it was one of those that was odd to me. I kind of forgot that it would be included by the Academy in this cycle, just because to me, it came out, at least for most people, this year, and I know the Academy extended their deadline for inclusion, but it was one that just felt to me like a 2021 film that I would be watching, for next year's awards cycle. To see it pop up here, I was like, oh yeah, I guess I missed the train on that one.
What about they don't call it foreign language film, they call it international feature and documentary feature. Anybody see surprised? I was surprised by the documentary just because I thought I'd done a pretty good job of keeping up with the documentary contenders, and as it turns out, I've only seen one of the 5 that were nominated.
Yeah, the only one I'd seen was Crypt Camp, which I enjoyed quite a bit, thought was well done, but I don't have any insight into the other nominees.
That's weird because, I saw the list and I had been watching a lot of documentaries, and I was thinking, Where's the Dissident? And I've seen Grip Camp, but I haven't seen or even heard about many of the others. I mean, the documentaries I'd been watching, that I expected to be on the list, the only one was Grip Camp.
Yeah, I've heard of the other. So the other four are Collective, The Mole Agent, My Octopus Teacher, and Time. So I've heard all of them. In fact, I think I might literally have DVD screeners for some of these sitting right over my shoulder here that I haven't taken a look at. So I'll go through those.
The best documentary I watched all year was Class Action Park on HBO Max. If you haven't seen that, it should get a special Oscar category for most injuries in a theme park. Highly recommend that documentary.
And what about the international feature? So Collective also was on that list. That's interesting for a film to make both the internet documentary and international film list. Another round is expected. Corvidas Aida, which just came out here in Indianapolis this past Friday, and I have not seen. So I'll have to check that one out. And I admit, I have Better Days. I think I'd heard of that one from Hong Kong, but I have not seen it. And I'll admit, I have not even heard of The Man Who Sold His Skin. That's a shame. I guess it's just a strange system whereby these films are being shown to the Academy voters, but they're not making it out to the other markets outside of New York, LA, Chicago, and I guess critics like us are not seeing them.
Going back to the actress category, I was disappointed to see Rosamond Pike not receive a nomination for I Care a Lot. I thought she gave one of the better performances by an actress last year.
I think that one may have just came out too late in the cycle because it just hit Netflix, like a couple, 3 weeks ago.
Right.
And presumably there were screeners going around. I never got one. Did you guys get it? I hadn't even heard about that film until it was coming out on Netflix. So unfortunately, that may have been one where they kind of dropped the ball. I will tell you, interesting thing, Netflix was a really big player this year in the awards. But I actually got called by Netflix a few weeks ago in preparation for the broadcast group vote, which I'm part of. And they were not pushing Mank or I'm trying to remember the other one. They were pushing The Five Bloods, and I'm trying to remember what was the other one. Was it Promising? Was Promising a Young Woman a Netflix film?
Chicago 7, right?
Yeah,
probably Chicago 7.
You're right. So those are the two they were pushing, and I was just sort of like, as you know, and as I wrote in my article this morning, my opinion on Da 5 Bloods is that it's terrible. And
did you ever finish it?
No.
You should finish it. I think you might like it better if you watch the whole movie. I do think Delroy Lindo was hugely snubbed. He deserved an Oscar nomination this year.
Maybe on your recommendation. Chicago 7, I thought was a decently good film. It seemed to me more like a series of speeches rather than a real, character story. Here's the deal I made myself on Da 5 Bloods. I said this. I turned it off at about 2/3 of the way through. And because I knew I wouldn't vote for it for anything. I said, if it gets Oscar nominations that I need to know about, then I'll watch the rest of it. So it did eke out one for musical score. So I guess technically using my own rule I set forth for myself, I will have to finish watching it. Who knows? Maybe you say. I mean, I've never seen a movie that was, I thought, so bad during the first 2/3 that the last third redeemed it. I have seen movies where the first 2/3 were really, really good and it's crapped out in the last third. But who knows? I'll give it a chance. All right, guys. Any other comments about the Oscars nominations this year? I mean, overall, I'm pretty happy. Pretty diverse group of nominees, particularly in acting. Kind of whiffed, I think, on some of the black films in Best Picture and maybe director and screenplay. Adam, did you have something?
Yeah. So just one. I'm surprised the Mauritanian didn't get a little more love, at least in some acting categories. It had maybe a shot at Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress. It actually got Best Picture nomination for a BAFTA, which I know isn't a great predictor, but was getting some love there. Two other interesting things of note. My wife was very excited this morning when I told her that Eurovision Song Tour scored an Oscar nomination for Best Original Song. She was playing that on our Alexa quite a bit during quarantine, the whole soundtrack. But the one that was nominated is the one she likes little note, Rachel McAdams does not sing her singing voice. It's actually someone else. So I hope they get the real singer to perform at the Oscars and not Rachel McAdams just because she's a bigger star. And finally, this is a little bit of interesting trivia. Glenn Close scored a double nomination for her role in Hillbilly Elegy. Yes, she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars and Worst Supporting Actress for the same performance at the Razzies. I don't know if that's happened before. I know that people have been nominated for 2 different movies in the same year. Sandra Bullock famously won a Razzie and an Oscar in the same year and actually accepted both in person. But we'll see. Maybe Glenn Close can win an Oscar and a Razzie for the same performance. That'd be pretty cool.
I thought she was magnificent. She's the best living actor or actress to not receive an Oscar win. So fingers crossed for her. All right, guys.
I'm rooting for her too.
Thanks, everyone. And if you're hot on the Oscars, we'll have more commentary coming up, and of course the main event in about 6 weeks, and we'll see you then.
All right.